finally made real the Declaration of Independence.
The power and influence of this House.
Mécanique supérieure.
The host of the nations of the world on our own soil.
Bem-vindos à Sociedade das Nações, um programa semanal sobre a atualidade internacional, aqui na SIC Notícias. No final da década de 90 e início deste século, os países nórdicos da Europa, incluindo a Alemanha, enfrentaram uma série de dificuldades financeiras em muito semelhantes ao que se passa atualmente no sul do continente. Conseguiram, no entanto, sair da crise, tomando uma série de medidas tendentes a reduzir o excesso de dívida pública que muitos entendem podem servir de exemplo para nós.
Por exemplo, pode o modelo nórdico da flexi-segurança laboral ser aplicável ao nosso país? Um sistema assente em forte emprego, possibilidade de recolocação rápida de desempregados, boa assistência social, aposta na requalificação, mobilidade e remunerações adequadas. Ouvimos Mikko Maënpää, presidente da segunda maior confederação sindical da Finlândia, o STTK, que representa 650 mil trabalhadores, e Sven Otto Littorin, que foi ministro do Trabalho da Suécia entre 2006 e 2010. Começar por perguntar a Maënpää o que é que está bem e o que é que está mal no mercado de trabalho do seu país.
If you think Finland's situation today, naturally we are living in the middle of the same crisis you have here in Portugal, and naturally we should solve our problems on the European Union level and at the national level, and we should have a system where the labor market organizations, employers and employees could support the expected growth. So my message is that what we need in the future, we need better growth, sustainable one, but growth, competitiveness, better productivity. But at the same time, we have to take care of the people, of the workers. So I think in Finland we have a good system because we have a very strong role building the new success story of Finland.
When you say we, you say the trade unions? Or?
Yes, trade unions and employers.
So that's the good part. That's the good part.
And politicians.
What about the bad part? What do you think it's lacking?
No, lacking is naturally the new story. Because we had a very deep crisis during 90s, unemployment from 20 to 25%. So it was terrible. Just a similar situation than you have now. And now we should find again a new story for Finland's growth, and we don't have it. We have a good basis, good education and skill but competition is worldwide. Globalization is a big question for Finnish companies and the whole society, and it's not easy. If I could solve the problem, I could get a Nobel Prize of the solution.
Okay, let's think about that for the next time.
Yeah.
So, turning to you, Sven, you were Labour Minister for 4 years.
Yeah.
There is this reality that you were the minister that answered more questions in Parliament.
Yes,
about
I really
policy,
did.
Is it true?
Yeah.
And you presided over a time when Sweden was not so bad in terms of unemployment because the worst years passed already. I mean, I think your worst years must have been from 91 to 99, more or less.
Yes, absolutely.
Where you passed from 1.7 to 8 or 9. I mean,
yeah, 500,000 people lost their jobs in 2 years. It was dreadful in the 90s. We had our financial crisis that you have now.
Tell me about, I know that you were an artillery officer when you were in the army, so if you had to select targets, negative targets, your enemies, what would be your enemies and what would be your allies? I mean,
actually, I would like to start with the positive side. Who are our allies? And I would say that the model where you have trade unions who are actually representing a lot of members out there are a huge part of the success story, because it means that they are more or less incorporated in finding the solutions for increasing productivity and growth and all of that. So it's and they become less militant if they have a large representation. I mean, to be honest. And what it means is that you have this cohesion internally, and that is crucial. But the problem there is, of course, that, or there are some problems, and one of them could tend to be that you have an insider-outsider problem, where the large trade unions and the large employers' confederations obviously are focusing more on their members than those who are not members. So the political target, if you like, would be to work more on getting those people in who have a problem getting in. Young people, people with disabilities, people who come from foreign countries, immigrants and things. And basically trying to find ways of compensating for their lower productivity through tax cuts perhaps, or cuts in payroll tax and things like that. And making it easier to transition into the economy.
Well, tell me one thing. If we look at the American system, let's go to an extreme example. If we go at the American system, to lose a job in the American system is not the end of your life. I mean, like lots of time people say it's not me that lost a job, it was the job that disappeared. So I still have qualifications, I'll move to California, to other place. And so we talk about mobility in the American system, although if you go into the numbers, it's mobility for individuals, but not for large masses. I mean, if like 300 people get unemployed in one place, they will not find immediately a job. But do you think that your both countries, Sweden and Norway and Finland, have this mobility?
Actually, we were just talking about that.
Do you think or is it really a tragedy when you lose a job? I mean,
No, it's not a tragedy at all. Naturally, we have to try to avoid that kind of situation. But as a matter of fact, our system is based on high social security, and we are developing our system now that when you are unemployed, we should have find in a very short period, very short time, a new place for a new working place or a place for studies to
get new qualifications.
Yes, and get better skills.
But when you say we, who? The state, the trade unions,
state, and
entities?
it's all. When I say we, I mean the state, the employers, and employees. So we are doing tripartite cooperation concerning this kind of themes, and we try to get the people to work. There is about 700,000 people or working places which are changing per year in Finland. And our population is 5 million. We are a very small country. It means that the system actually, it is very flexible. And I think that at the end, if we compare the system in the United States, the Nordic system are as flexible as the systems in the United States, but it's a different kind of model.
Yeah. What about your experience as a minister? I mean,
exactly the same.
Yeah.
I mean, we have 1 million people. We are slightly larger than Finland that changes jobs every year. Jobs that changes hands every year.
Yeah.
And what it means to me is that as long as you get in, losing your job doesn't mean the end of the world. The time periods, the average time period of unemployment for people over 26 is 90 days, something like that, which means that long-term unemployment is rather low. But we need to work on that because it means reskilling people.
Right.
And
reskilling. What about the social security net? I mean, what kind? Do you believe in what kind of system? A system where each individual invests in his own social security? Should it be a pre-mandated system, national one? Should it be a private side thing? Should it be a public side thing?
Let me very quickly try to answer that.
Should it be a contract?
I think that it comes with our culture and history that people expect there to be a rather strong safety net that is somehow organized through the tax system. I mean, that's the fact. The trick is to find systems that also incentivize people to go back into the labor market as soon as possible. So it has to be generous, but not over-generous. And it has to be constructed in a way so that you perhaps get a bit more if you return to the labor market as soon as possible. We did some changes to the unemployment insurance system to that effect. They were hugely unpopular, of course, because as soon as you change something, it means that you take something away or you change it, and that becomes politically difficult.
Unless you change and you give more.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But what happened was that in 2008, just prior to the crisis, we had the fastest falling unemployment rate in the entire OECD area. I'm very proud of that. And then the crisis hit, and
you are now around what, 8%?
Well, a bit less, 7.5.
And you are also more or less around 7 point something. But tell me one thing: do you believe in a system, for instance, where you pay Social Security, you get Social Security when you need it, and then when you get another job, you return part of the money? Would you believe in that or not?
Not really. The way that it
like
works...
loans in universities, when you go to university, you get a loan, and then you find a job, and you return the loan to the... You don't believe in that kind of system?
No, not really, not really. I think that people, you have, especially when it comes to unemployment insurance, what you insure is an income loss for a certain period of time, a limited period of time. And what the point is to make sure that the transition works as smoothly as possible. And as we know that the time periods of actual unemployment is much shorter than the outer limit, at least on average, it does help the transitional process. But to the end of the day, it should always pay more to work than not to work. And that is a sort of a fundamental principle. Otherwise, there's no incentive to go back to the labor market. So that balance is...
One of the discussions we are having now in Portugal is schedules and work hours. I mean, should we touch work hours in the sense of making each person work less and maybe also earn less so more people could come into the market, or that would be a purely artificial pseudo-solution?
Yes. One will have to be very careful to find solutions for another country, because we have Finnish system, and naturally, if you think the Nordic models, they are based on of high employment rate. So they are based on the idea that everybody has to work, and that means that employment rate. It should be high, because we have to finance the quite big public sector and good quality public services. And that's the basic idea of our country. And I think through the crisis, this system is working quite well. I'm quite optimistic that it will carry out in the future too.
But what about less working hours so more people could work?
No. I'm sorry, that's a fallacy, because what you basically say is that there's a set number of jobs and it's up to the government or someone else to divide them.
But as you know, that idea has been discussed in several countries.
Yes, but let's forget about that. We need more people to work more. No, it's
work, and maybe longer working careers during your lifetime.
But also perhaps more flexible, right? So that you can, when you have young children, perhaps you could work a bit less. When you're over 65, you could work a bit less with something else. But to say that the solution to the problem that we're not producing enough, that we're not growing enough, is to produce less. I mean, I'm sorry, that's when you go to Greece. I mean...
Well, what about mobility of jobs geographically? Okay, in countries that are small, that maybe doesn't create a very big social revolution. In the States, it would be more dramatic if you pass from east to west coast, although they adapt. But should there be a compensation for someone that moves geographically from a totally different zone in a country? I mean,
actually, I don't believe that. I think that...
I'm playing here devil's advocate.
I think that the wage increases, or the wage levels should be similar in the different places of the country. And naturally, in Helsinki area, which is the capital of Finland, the wages are higher than in northern or eastern Finland. Market mechanism is working like that, but the base is the same. And naturally, we have great difficulties with those areas who are in north and in eastern border, and where traditionally, for example, quite strong industrial cities with big paper mills. and so on. And now when the big companies have outsourced their business to abroad, they have huge difficulties. But I think that we should believe in strong city areas, because if we don't have these strong areas and a strong South Finland, there will be greater difficulties in
Excuse
some
that
areas.
you come from different traditions, different national traditions. You come also from the trade union culture. You come more from politics and state culture. But you both seem to believe in one value, which is market. You think, both of you, you as a trade unionist, you put so much faith in the market, in its rationality. And,
but
am I diagnosing it right?
Your diagnosis is correct, but we have to, if you analyze the system in Sweden and Finland, you have to analyze it.
Yeah, but the market is the same.
Yeah, exactly.
But education, lifelong learning, good public services.
So you are talking about another thing, which is like the structure.
Yes, the structure.
Besides the market, the public structure.
Inside the structure, the market mechanism should work so that you have a possibility to build your own success story of your life, but in a secure system.
But you both believe that the state has responsibilities towards individuals in creating those social nets, or not? Or you think that all of that should be contractualized?
No. But what
should be the responsibilities of the state? So let's say education, good education.
Wait. It doesn't mean, if you say the responsibility, yes, but it doesn't mean that production has to be state-owned or controlled or developed. I mean, there can be all kinds of schools and all
But the
kinds
state
of
at least should be a regulator.
Well, yes, of course, and it should also have the sort of overseeing capacity to make sure that everybody has a good education, things like that.
But you both, if you, because one of the things we are trying to discuss here in Portugal is what is going to happen to the so-called welfare state. What's going to be the new model? Okay, so let's say besides education, health, public security, so a police force, is there anything else that the state should do that cannot be questioned?
I think that when we look at the big social security systems, sickness benefits, unemployment benefits, although we don't have a publicly managed or owned unemployment insurance system, it's managed by the trade union, so it's private. And it's not compulsory and it's not mandatory for everyone as well. So there are large portions that are already under the umbrella of a sort of a political mechanism, if you like, but it can be contracted out to other partners along the way. It could be private in some cases. There are trade unions in some cases, but the cohesion model of saying that we don't leave people in the pit. Right. We take care of people to make sure that they can stand on their own two legs, and then they have to work on their own success story.
Don't you think also that's what separates Europe from other models? It's the fact that we are trying to give a decent society to people.
Yes, absolutely. The idea of cohesion that brings to us to education system. That the idea is that everybody gets the education, the high-level education, and by that is integrated to society. That should be one of the main idea of the Nordic model. And if you think of the state's role, state has a specific role in education, in building the life learning system, building the social security. But social security is always connected with working.
Yeah.
And that's the secret. And state, high R&D, invest strong innovation policy, so longer term possibilities to build competitive society.
One thing, I know that you've been involved in conversations about strikes. I mean, what should be the laws and norms to regulate strikes? I mean, I know that some of the dialogue you had went okay. Other didn't go so well. There was ruptures and restart of those dialogues. But what's your both take on strikes? I mean, what should be the role of a strike industrial action these days? I mean, first, let's agree on one thing. Should we have like sympathy or solidarity strikes, or this should be considered illegal immediately?
No, possibility to strike. We should analyze that so that it's a part of the working life condition and constitutional right.
Yeah, civil.
You have right to be a member. You have right to work. You have a right to strike. But naturally, we are trying to avoid those strikes because they don't. There are signs of that something is wrong with the system, with the social dialogue, with the model. And everything, all the time when the strike appears, something is wrong. It's a wrong message. But naturally, I think that people have the right to strike and the right to find a job and right to work. It's a balance. But naturally, it's always a.
So you don't believe in class struggle?
No, but we believe that by trust between employers and employers, we can build a society. That's
and the interesting thing, I'm a centre-right politician, right? Yeah. So my party...
So I could not ask you like the same question.
Oh, absolutely, you can. Because the thing is that my party 10, 15 years ago, if you would have asked them, they would have said that trade unions are crypto-socialists.
Yeah.
But if you look into how this model actually works, it delivers fantastic results. Because it delivers peacetime during the period of the contracts. They have found, trade unions and employers have found mechanisms to solve their differences. Compromise is a holy word in the Nordic countries. And compromise, to be honest, means that no one really wins, because everybody loses a bit in a compromise, but everybody wins more on the compromise itself.
I think the time when trade unions were only one color, now you have lots of colors. And you can have a conservative believing in general strike, and you can have a socialist strike to defend his job in parliament. I mean, so.
Exactly, and if you have an 80% unionization rate, I mean, you cover the whole spectrum, of course.
Gentlemen, this was only a small talk. I hope you can return to Lisbon. And I bid you a safe return to the
Thank you very much.
And to where it's cold. To where it's cold.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks.
E vamos à segunda parte do programa de hoje, às sugestões literárias do Nuno Rogério Maquiavel, já vi.
Maquiavel e seus herdeiros.
E seus herdeiros.
Numa semana marcada muito por uma série de maquiavelismos, incluindo na negociação entre Portugal e os Estados Unidos por causa da base das lajes, achei que devia trazer isto. É do Diogo Pires Aurélio, que já trabalhou muito tempo no Diário Notícias, é um grande filósofo português, também um grande ensaísta, e o que ele nos procura aqui trazer é que a ideia do Maquiavel, de que para estudar o Estado temos que o separar da parte política, separar a parte moral, portanto, não estudamos moralizando, estudamos como ele é, e se deu resultados através da história. Quer dizer, houve muitas pessoas que, partindo da mesma ideia, ou conduziram o Estado de uma forma imoral, ou acharam que não era preciso confundir o seu juízo de consciência com os seus atos políticos. E, portanto, segundo ele, há uma grande linha que vai desde o Richelieu, passando pelo Hegel até ao Lenin, que seguiu Maquiavel mesmo sem o saber, ou de outras maneiras. Maquiavel e os seus herdeiros, de Diogo Pires Aurélio, um livro que me parece essencial para os tempos que correm. Do Lawrence Durrell, e numa altura de grande confusão no Egito, como tu sabes, há duas legitimidades neste momento no Egito, uma a legitimidade presidencial eleita e depois a legitimidade dos tribunais, temos o Quarteto de Alexandria. O Lawrence Durrell foi um dos grandes novelistas, romancistas ingleses do século XX e, através da sua vida no Egito durante a Segunda Guerra, foi buscar uma série de retratos que eu acho que são admiráveis da sociedade egípcia. O Quarteto de Alexandria reúne 4 romances.
Ia perguntar porquê quarteto.
Justine, Baltazar, Mount Olive e Clare. São 4 romances sobre Alexandria no tempo da Segunda Guerra, pela perspectiva do inglês, cultivado e com meios.
No tempo da Segunda Guerra Mundial.
No tempo da Segunda Guerra Mundial, portanto, entre 1939 e 1945. Lawrence Durrell, o Quarteto de Alexandria. Por fim, trago-te mais um volume das nossas rainhas. Aliás...
Tu já contaste quantas é que são?
Não, mas já saíram
para aí 50 ou 60.
Já saíram para aí uns 20 livros, ou 15, não sei. Ainda falta muito. Houve lá 8 séculos de história, dão muitas rainhas. Estas são histórias tristes, estas das rainhas. As tristes rainhas, Leonor de Aragão, que foi casada com Dom Duarte, um dos nossos reis mais intelectuais, mais filósofos, mais filosóficos, e a Isabel de Coimbra, que foi casada com Dom Afonso V e que tem uma história trágica porque, preciso não esquecermos, Dom Afonso V matou o seu pai, o infante Dom Pedro. Quer dizer, ser casada com alguém que matou o pai dela. Não,
o pai dela. Matou o sogro.
O sogro, matou o sogro.
Mas no Correio da Manhã parece que acontece com alguma regularidade.
Nessa
hoje
altura,
em dia,
na altura acho que ainda não se publicava. Mas de qualquer maneira, as tristes rainhas, a história de duas mulheres, Leonor de Aragão, que depois da morte de Dom Duarte, enfim, teve uma existência obscura e morreu praticamente na miséria, e Isabel de Coimbra, que teve também estes grandes conflitos. Portanto, duas mulheres na encruzilhada da história. Mais uma vez, porquê é que estes livros são importantes num programa como nós? É que Portugal tinha o seu destino traçado junto aos grandes reinos da Europa, ou seja, tudo o que se passava em Portugal tinha influência nos outros reinos da Europa, tudo o que se passava nos reinos da Europa tinha influência em Portugal, e as casas dinásticas, como tu sabes, eram multinacionais de sangue.
E que música é que tu recomendas para
Olha,
este mês de dezembro?
Música. Este homem vem cá a Lisboa, na altura em que nós vamos para o ar, chama-se Steve Vai, é um dos grandes guitarristas do século XX e XXI, porque ele ainda é vivo, e é uma mistura de muitas músicas, não vou aqui trazer, mas desde o heavy metal até ao folk. Isto é uma balada irlandesa, tocada pela sua guitarra inevitável e inimitável. The Story of Light, do Steve Vai. Ele vem cá apresentar este CD.
Vem cá ainda este ano?
Vem cá na altura em que nós vamos falar.
Portanto, ainda este ano.
Ainda este ano.
Steve Vai, The Story of Light. A música irlandesa, não é esta?
É, uma balada irlandesa.
Uma balada irlandesa a terminar o nosso programa desta semana. Nós voltaremos à semana que vem.